Hello guys, it's been a while. It's been a while that I actually made a YouTube video. I will say April was actually a really crazy month for me. So much was happening, and so much of those things they kept me away from my YouTube making videos. So I'm actually making this video. It's actually 1 May Sunday. So I've been I've been even wanting to postpone and do it on Monday and all that, so but it's okay. So I'm actually making this video about um vulnerability vulnerability, the importance of being the important the importance of being vulnerable. Is it importance? I don't know. So I'm just gonna make a video about the importance of being vulnerable, because sometimes we are actually scared of being vulnerable. Sometimes we do that on our own, not just being vulnerable with other people. It's scary. It's scary to face our own emotions. That's why I'm not gonna do any kind of judgment around that, because even myself, I still don't understand my own emotions, my own when I should be vulnerable. So sometimes I get help through music. So when I'm actually listening to music, certain music trigger me to be vulnerable with myself, because sometimes I'll be in this baddie bitch mood, and then it's okay to be in a baddie mood, but when you are in it, you should be able to know when to be vulnerable, because being vulnerable is also a baddie bitch vibe. So I'm just gonna talk about why it's important to be vulnerable with yourself, because honestly I don't believe you should be vulnerable with anyone that you feel in your gut feeling that it's not okay to be vulnerable with. It's not okay. Not everyone deserves to know the vulnerable side. Being vulnerable is not only about emotion, it's about you being honest, you being honest with yourself, you being honest with your principles, with your values, with whatever that you know is aligned with you. Because most of the time we as people, we wear masks, and wearing mask is easy, because when you're outside you be like haha, you acting like this is not who you are. It's easy to wear mask. It's easy, even if it's something like um acting like you are not affected by certain things, you're not affected but what other people are saying, by all of those kind of things. Because sometimes as we are human, we gonna be affected by what other people are actually saying. Not all the time, but as for me, I'm not always affected by other people what that are saying, because I've realized a lot of people, they are projecting. They are constantly projecting. They don't know who they are. So them not knowing who they are, not having awareness of what are they projecting, it led them to be their coping mechanism. Every time we come across someone they don't know, or meeting anyone that they believe is above them, but I don't believe there's anyone who's actually above anyone. So it's just your low self-esteem, because nobody is actually above you. It's just that you meet people who are actually doing better than you, career wise, emotion, like mentally, spiritual, and sexually. Besides that, I don't believe there's something that is above anyone. So yeah, so we wear masks, so we going about acting like this is who we are. And you should be aware when you are doing that to yourself, because you are the only person that you, okay, not only person, you are the person that you actually own to be honest with before anyone. You can't go around acting like you didn't get bothered by certain things. You're not being bothered by whatever that happened about the breakup, or about the way your toxic pattern that you're going about every day, that you know that you supposed to let go. So as I said, I'm just gonna talk about the importance of being vulnerable. I'm just gonna make an example about what actually, how magical it is to be actually vulnerable with yourself. So I was actually going through something. So I'm usually that type of person who's like, I'm okay, and whatever that I'm going through, it's gonna, you know, I'm gonna go through life. I'm gonna have a strength to go about, to maneuver whatever that situation that I'm actually facing, which is okay in some situation to be like that, to be telling yourself you are okay, it's gonna be okay whatsoever. While you are in it, you should be mindful the fact that your emotions are supposed to be let go. You're supposed to release some certain energy through trying, through trying, allowing yourself to just try your lungs out to the point that you feel like your heart actually have a hole in it. I'm not saying every time you try you're supposed to feel like that every time, but sometimes gonna be that longest cry where you feel like your heart has a hole in it, because you are allowing yourself to be vulnerable. You are allowing yourself to try to let go of store emotion in your body, because we store emotion in our body. We store, certain energy that is not needed anymore. Probably that was something that we go about every day, and you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It's block your chakra. For example, I've noticed when I'm getting more and more and more irritated, to the point that I did yoga. So I will asking myself why I'm irritated with everything, like with everything, with everyone, with social media, everything. I'm just irritated. I'm just feeling frustrated with everything. And then I, I've looked at the things that actually help me with grounding myself, and be like, I did yoga. I ate healthy. Didn't eat. I didn't eat anything that is not, that is actually doing something bad on my stomach. So I read, because reading helped me with grounding. I went to nature. So I did all the things that I know that are actually a spiritual ritual for me, that actually help me with grounding myself. But still I feel frustrated. I feel mad, I feel angry out of the blue. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to sleep, maybe I didn't get enough, I did all of that. And I was like, out of the blue, the song play on my head, and then I pick up and I play that song, and then I cried my lungs out. Like, I cried a lot, and I was like, wow. And after that, I've noticed that I'm no longer angry. I'm not like, my emotion, I just went back to how I wanted to be. And it was just one of those things where, like, wow, sometimes you just have to let them go. The whatever that is going on within you, you just have to try. Sometimes you don't have to be only like, I have to find the solution. It's okay to find the solution. I hate people who just complain about their problem and not finding any solution. They're just complaining, no solution, just draining. There's nothing wrong with feeling frustrated and want to vent about whatever that is going on, but while you are doing it, I hope you're still searching for a solution to it. Because why are you constantly talking about one thing unless you are actually want attention, because obviously you do want attention. Why are you not doing anything about your situation? Because everyone in life right now is being fucked up. We are all in this together. We are constantly going through some things. We're all going through some spiritual warfare. Everyone is going through something. This is something that you should know. Everyone is going through something. It's not just you who's going through something. So I'm talking about that. So why you constantly complaining, venting, not finding the solution? Because you already are aware of your problems. So why not going about taking responsibility? If it need to take responsibility, if need to let go, why not to let go? So I'm talking about things that they find solution, instead of complaining. So I was actually in that phase where I had to play a song to realize I've been neglecting my emotions, because I've been used to gaslighting myself in terms of I, I need to keep going. I need to keep going. There's nothing wrong with keep going, like having a positive mindset, being positive, but there's actually having a positive mindset and positive thinking whatsoever. You should be mindful when the positive vibe is becoming toxic to yourself. There's nothing wrong with positive, but always the link between that negative positivity that we actually create on ourselves, because we know that we've been through so much, and we just want to go about without releasing certain emotion in our body, because we won't it doesn't matter who you are. Being vulnerable is important. It's block your creativity. You will find yourself being stuck because you are storing certain energies in your body that need to be released. That's why you find a lot of artists. I'm just gonna make a musician an example with a musician. You find a musician, now they had to, because musicians are connected universally. When I say connected, we're all connected universally. So that's why music help us to heal, is because they are showing us musicians are actually people who are gifted musical. So what happened is they are gifted musical, and as they're gifted musical, they need to write things that are actually happening in their life. That's how you find a certain music, when you listen to it, you'll be like, oh, full of ego. Because at that time they were showing their frustration whatsoever, and the next song, like the whole album would be like, who is she or who is he? Is because they have to go through certain emotion in order for them to make that masterpiece album. If they want to make that masterpiece album, they had to go through emotion. That's why you find a certain, like, example of a musician that I feel like, don't get me wrong, he's a good musician, but I feel like this person, somehow I feel like he need to be cancelled. Chris Brown. Like, have you ever listened to someone's music to the point that you be like, all his music is the same, there's no growth, there's no nothing? And I'm like, why his music is like that? I'm not a huge fan of him, but when it happened that actually, on, because I'm a YouTube person, so I'm like listening to music, like, oh, this song is just a little twist to what I actually had back then. And be like, I don't feel like Chris Brown is someone that is actually spiritually growing. I feel like he's stuck in his way. Like, his music is just the same taste. Like, what the hell? So I'm talking about things like that. You can tell that the musician is actually stuck. You know, there's no creativity because he's not willing to grow beyond what he knew. Yes, he went through so much in his childhood, but he's not allowing himself to grow. He forget that you are connected universally. So your music is not just for you, it's for others. That's why you be like hearing new music, new artist. Because, for example, like, we know Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is still a greatest artist that I ever come across, and like she's the bomb, you know. So I've known her like since from 2010 2011, I think. And as someone who's into hip hop, I'm like, wow, Nikki, you know. And you know, and the next thing, I heard this woman called Doja Cat. I'm like, out of the blue, and I'm in public, people play this kind of music. I'm like, who is he? Who is she? And here, when you listen Nicki Minaj and Doja Cat, they're actually two artists who are actually doing their own thing at a different time. Now you understand why Nicki Minaj was a musician back then, because her music style is still in that way that she was raised. And you know, we are constantly raising vibration, and listening at Doja Cat, you be like, wow. You know, things that Doja Cat talk about, it was something that was not considered to be talked about. You wouldn't hear any song talking about nigga and shit. It'd be like, you know, people will be raising eyebrows. They're like, and she's talking about sex like that. It'd be like, you know, I, we actually growing. And I'm not saying Doja Cat only talk about sex, talking about, it's just that it's how she expressed herself. It compare back then, if Nicki Minaj released songs that are actually like that, I feel like she will experience a lot of difficulties, because people were not there emotionally, mentally, spiritually, not ready for that kind of music. But Doja Cat is doing it, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm like, wow. Like, you know, I'm talking about this, how we actually raise vibration in terms of every artist have a gift in certain way, and every artist is gifted in certain. Both of them are like, they're fucking great, but you just can tell this one is actually releasing music that was actually making sense back then. Even now it makes sense. I still listen to Nicki Minaj, because most of the time I'm like, out of the blue, I just want to starship, you're meant to fly. You know, I'm not gifted musical, but I'm just saying about things that actually I realize, like, every artist is different and they are connected. That's why you can tell where they are growth. You know what, I'm aligned. That's why sometimes you find outgrowing any artist is because they are not growing, or maybe it's because they are growing but you are not aligned with them anymore. So I'm talking about things that are actually like that. So I'm talking about the importance of being vulnerable. It helps with you, with allowing yourself to be creative, it allowing yourself to grow, it allowing with yourself to be more deeply connected with yourself. Because when you're constantly pushing your emotion, you're pushing your vulnerability out of your way because you don't want to be vulnerable, you constantly running away from yourself. That's why you find people, you don't understand why they're actually running away, because they are cornered. Sometimes we had to learn in a hard way until we are cornered, because I had to realize that I've been not being vulnerable, because I'm so used to telling myself this positive affirmation, I'm gonna get through this, it's just one of the phase, you know. I'm so used to doing that. It's something that I've been done for years. So i'm I'm still not yet understanding when I should be vulnerable, you know, until I had to listen to certain music, and then I'll be like, fuck, and then I'm be emotional, or maybe I'm drawn to certain K-drama or a movie, and then that's when I find myself being vulnerable. So I'm not saying I'm the best in understanding my emotion, but I'm just gonna talk about the importance of being vulnerable. If you feel stuck, you feel angry, frustrated, sometimes you just have to let them go. Like, let the emotion happen. Maybe that's why you feel stuck. It's not a weakness to be vulnerable. It's not even close to be happy and weakness. So it's okay to be vulnerable. You're not weak. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you being vulnerable. It's just you experiencing another things that you are supposed to be experiencing, that you've been pushing them away, that you find frustration because your soul is far away from you. You're busy doing this positive whatever things that actually know that they make you being make your mood, that enhance your mood, that enhance your way of doing. So like going to the gym instead of being vulnerable, there's nothing wrong to doing both. There's nothing wrong. It's just that I've noticed it's easy to chase that feeling of feeling good. The next thing, probably a week, where the whole fucking week you were in your greatest mood, and the next thing you are feeling awful, and then here you are, be like, oh, last week it was good, you know, it was good, you know. Yeah, it was good, but it's for another purpose, you know. You can't always experiencing happiness. There's this thing about life. Life, it's about being consciously happy, being consciously sad. Because if you're not being consciously sad, you're gonna be sad for the rest of your fucking life, not taking responsibility, not finding solution in whatever that is actually bothering you. Because you're gonna go around like, oh, my life is sad. You are not consciously aware of telling yourself such things. You are affirming that your life is supposed to have a lot of blockage. I'm not saying blockage are part of life, but people sometimes they create their blockage. Have you ever met someone, you be like, okay, this person can heal from risk, but because that's what they know. I was that person who actually don't know what happiness is, who don't know when I should. It felt so wrong to be in the light. I'm so used to darkness to the point that whenever I'm experiencing so much light in my life, I'm feeling like, oh, you know, it's scary. Even now, I'm still scared of being happy. I feel like something's gonna go wrong or anything, or you know. But now I actually enjoy it. Like I'm enjoying it, but I'm still, you know, it's something new because I spent decade 2 decades of my life being a sad kid, and right now I'm actually trying to enjoy life, and I'm happy, you know. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm whatever that I'm actually feeling, because I don't choose how I actually feel today. I can say, oh, today's gonna be a good day, and it's gonna be a good day, but I'm not saying I'm not gonna experience some bad things that are gonna happen the next thing, probably next 4 hours, probably next day, you know. So as much I choose, I'm being choosing, it's a choice, you know, it's a conscious choice. But at the same time, my happiness, it should not be some type of happiness that I constantly have to chase it. Because yesterday I was feeling this happy, you know, it should be a conscious thing, like, you know, being aware that okay, this today is another day. I'm being taught a lot, I'm going through some universalities, and it's okay, you know. So I'm talking about that kind of conscious happy, consciously sad. But I'm also talking about the importance of being vulnerable. Vulnerability is everything when you maneuver in your life. It doesn't matter what phase you are in, what are you going through, whatsoever. So allow yourself to be vulnerable. It's not a weakness. If you out of the blue, you're feeling sad, you're feeling like you just want to cry your lungs out, just do it. Even if it's public place, I had a lot of emotion that I had to control because I was in public. But now I'm just like, excuse me, I would just go to the toilet and just release all the fucking emotion, because why not? Unless if I have to, like, for example, I'm in an exam that gonna be hard to do, so we should be conscious with doing that. So yeah, so thank you guys for liking, for sharing, for subscribing on my YouTube channel. I'm really grateful, and I really appreciate the support that you're actually giving me. So bye.